Okay, Supernatural Season 10, and let me tell you, this was a pretty good season. I really enjoyed pretty much every layer that this season had to offer. The storylines with Sam and Dean doing everything they can to get rid of the Monk of Cain, Crowley having to deal with Sam and Dean being a thorn in his side, but then having to deal with his mother, which was totally unexpected, but a very interesting continuation of the Sun storyline that occurred last season, and how they're both trying to outsmart each other, and they both know that eventually it's going to lead to both of them bickering for power players, and then how the season ends up being where neither of them truly win. At least that's what I got from it. The individual storylines that we had to deal with, the brothers, just helping random people out, all done well, bringing back characters from prior seasons, all good. I was really enjoying this. Until we got to the last couple of episodes, and then they totally just do a slap in the face, in essence, to all the major villains this season except Crowley. Just like, how the heck did they screw it up that much? Like, did you guys forget your own lore? Okay, like that. Ugh. And okay, so let me make it clear to you, okay? I have no problem with the literal ending of this, okay? That I am really interested in seeing, but it's what you did to all of those characters. Cain, Crowley's mother, Death, just like, what's the deal with all that? Because let's go with Crowley's mother first. I keep forgetting her real name, okay? It was just easier for me to just say Crowley's mother or the witch character, alright? Now, that was a good character, both before we knew she was Crowley's mother and after. Really enjoyed the dynamic. And then the bit where she becomes sort of Sam's, you know what, even though she did have a good amount of power in that situation, which I really enjoy. But then you just have that little sob story of bringing up that little kid that she befriended, and then she had to murder him. It seemed like a nice moment, and I get that they were trying to throw a different angle at the character and kind of humanize her, but all it really did was just seem, well, stupid. There's just something about that. I just did not like that little bit. And it's not a case of, oh, the character is unlikable, like with Kevin. No, okay? Kevin being not the most likable character, okay, that's deliberate. He was shoved in there. And you look at how old he was, it fits somebody of that age. Having to have his mother, he thought that she was gone, and then he dies, and then is kind of brought back, and just, okay, that's not the same thing, okay? There was nothing wrong with this boy character that Crowley's mother had befriended. There was nothing wrong with it at all, but, oh, that is the one thing that she loves. It just seems stupid. And I mean, like, yes, it allowed them to get, like, an upper hand on Crowley, but given how neither of them end up being by Sam and Dean right at the end of the season, it just kind of seems like a waste. Because, okay, neither party got what they wanted out of that, but who is least badly affected amongst all of those people? It's actually Crowley's mother in that arrangement. I'm not talking about Crowley specifically, okay? Because by the end of it, even though his mother was able to wreak some damage into his network, whatever you want to call it, it wasn't as bad as what Abaddon did. Like, Abaddon turned a lot of people against him, and he had to figure out a whole big mess. And it took a decent amount of effort for him to get what he wanted in that situation. His mother, he lost a couple of minions, okay? And, you know, right when he's basically screwing one of his minions into being his paper boy or just something like errand boy, you know, that kind of a thing, I knew that they were going to go that way. And I'm like, okay, whoop-de-whoop. He's right back to where he was. He doesn't care. His mother, it seems, was barely able to do anything except against him personally. It's his mind that's affected, nothing else. Everything else he's fixed just like that. I just don't like how that ended. Just seems like a waste. So now moving on to Kane. Now, it's established that after the events of last season, he's gone rogue and has decided to start killing people again. And he goes on this spiel about his new train of mind to Castiel, and later Dean, how that mark, it really messes with you. And that makes sense, except for the fact that in the prior season, you get the idea that he hasn't killed in freaking forever and has done everything he can to disassociate himself from that previous life. But now when he has even less stimulation to go back down there, he does it. Now, I understand that the writers want us to think, oh, this is an example of a character that we thought was good, and then they turn bad. Anna, she was very sympathetic in Season 4, then all of a sudden in Season 5, she decides to go rogue, and you gotta off her. Ruby, in Season 3, she actually brings up some very good points to the brothers, but then in Season 4, it's revealed, oh yeah, it was a mask all along. I'm doing everything I can to get Lucifer out, even though the change in actresses did create that disjointed feel, unfortunately. But, like, we've had characters that were in a good spot turn bad before, but usually it made more sense than this. Like, I have a tough time believing that he went from point A to point B. Now, no. Playing devil's advocate to my own thoughts, okay? Crowley, in the very last scene of last season, said, oh, but it seemed like Kane was already dead, and then he seemed to have been brought back. So, you get the attitude that it might not have been the real Kane thinking all of this stuff, but if anything, then there should have been like some kind of line that said that, oh, it was the monk that was making me do this. This is the real Kane. I'm as evil as they say. It just... it doesn't add up. How is he the somewhat sympathetic interpretation of the biblical legend in Season 9, and then he just all of a sudden decides to do that? Because, like, he wanted Dean to kill him at the end of Season 9, and even though it does happen, the way that he was trying to attack Dean, this isn't, oh, I'm going to attack you so you kill me. No. Kane in that scene, it's not that he explicitly wanted Dean to kill them, it was that he didn't care who came out on top. He was just closer to creating havoc than anything else that we saw in the previous season. Just, again, A to B does not line up in my mind. It just... Okay, maybe I missed something for him, and that's describing his thoughts. Okay, maybe. But I really don't think so. I just cannot see how he changed in that regard. At least with Anna, they gave somewhat justifiable explanations. Some of the angels that, turned on Kaz last season, it made sense. That angel that he had a good relationship, Anna or whatnot, all of a sudden, just one instance causes her to change her entire state of mind? Well, that does happen. That's what happened to me and what inspired me to quit drinking caffeine back in like 2013 13, 14, I can't remember now. I'll go 14. It was a whim. Okay, that made sense. This, no, it doesn't. And here's the catch. I didn't even notice this until I saw the special features for the season and realized, wait a minute. Even though the writers and actors are trying to defend this, it actually is me pointing out, but what about that? So, that was annoying. And then, Death. What? All of a sudden, Death can be tricked and defeated, or at least in the meat suit. Okay, it can be defeated just like that? What? Now, okay, I do remember that weapon in Season 5 was stated to be one of the few things, if anything, that can kill Death. But Death, who sends Dean coming a mile away, was able to get it out of his hands and then disappear it into himself. Okay? Death is supposed to be the all-powerful being. Okay? Didn't even have to raise a finger against Dean, and Dean was scared stiff. All those other horsemen, you were able to trick and do all that stuff. Well, Death makes it clear that you can't do that. Oh, but they bowed him in Season 7. Yeah, but when he got bowed, he knew that they had only done that to try and bargain with him. He knew he was going to get out of that one way or another. And truth be told, he didn't care that much. Oh, he cared. But he knew that if he just says, why on earth should I help you, they couldn't just leave him there. Huh? It just, what? What? Okay, now playing devil's advocate, but he didn't suspect that Dean was going to do that. He could have easily done something. Oh, try to bind me again. You'll be dead before you finish. He had the ability to stop Dean from doing that, and you telling me that he was that oblivious? What? No. What? Just like, what the hell? I mean, like, even when he appeared right at the beginning of Season 9, I did kind of sense that Jeremy was characterizing him differently than Eric and Sarah did, but, just what? I mean, like, I can't forgive that, okay? And like, it doesn't even make sense why Dean did it. Oh, but that was because Death wanted him to kill Sam. But why did he even have to kill Sam? He was already offering Dean to just teleport him to some random place where he could just survive someplace else in the galaxy. Oh, hell, another galaxy. That was such a bad scene. When it came to that part, okay? Death explaining the mark and adding more mythology to it along with the first part of the hook for next season, zero problems with that. And it was perfect that it was Death doing that. It makes perfect sense that if there's anyone that would know about it, it's him. Because, I mean, like, are you ever going to be able to, bring back Lucifer or, Adam or Michael really in some capacity? At this rate, I highly don't think so, but just, did you have to just do it that way? That just did not make sense. It would have made way more sense for Dean to turn on Death and then Death just vanishes, but then because of what happens with the mark anyway, and yeah, that was completely unrelated to what happened with Death, okay? So I wager that you didn't really kill Death, you just killed the meat suit, even though you really got the idea that ever since at least human beings developed, Death had been in that meat suit for quite a while. Just like, it just felt way different than the other horsemen, but like, it just... And again, I don't even know what I'm complaining about, because I'm wagering that they just killed the meat suit, but just How do you forget that? How did that character go from A to B? It's just bad. Ugh. So yeah, again, like, I really don't want to be in this position, okay? Because I'm only complaining about, in essence, a few scenes, most of which are in the last freaking episode. Because again, I was loving this season, okay? Like, they were doing all kinds of great stuff, like that Cole character, both at the beginning and then when they bring him back. That was an excellent storyline and what they did with him. Yeah, it did kind of come out of nowhere, but then once you got rid of Demon Dean, and Real Dean said that he actually remembered just about everything, though he couldn't classify what kind of monster Cole's father was. I thought that was kind of stupid, but if you ignore that one line, an excellent storyline. They didn't have to bring the character back, but they did, and showed how willing he was to help out in that situation. Doesn't totally like them, but he knows you're actually the good guys here, and how much you were willing to go in order to help me? Uh-huh. The scene where Dean becomes a teenager, that was good and hilarious. The musical episode, yeah, those cringe moments, but I've got the whole freaking Office franchise in my possession in some way or capacity, so I'm used to cringe humor, okay? And that was great throwbacks. Alright, the bits about Demon Dean, an interesting way to see Jensen portray the character. How Dean gets darker and darker throughout the season going along. What those, Stein family people were, yeah, that came kind of out of left field, but the end justification for including them, good! The Castiel storylines, both with the brothers and without the brothers. How his being human shows that he has a new sense of humor, it's great! Charlie! Yeah, I bummed that she died, but she went out for a purpose. She could have chickened out. She chose not to. She faced the fire. Uh-huh! All of that is amazing stuff, okay? I really do not want to be complaining about this stuff because this season was a blast to sit through in comparison to the last few. This was easy. I binge watched this and nothing flat, but you just had to do that stuff with admittedly minor villains, okay? Because the real bad guys are Crowley and his mother. And his mother, but I admit, is nitpicking. I admit it. But I just can't get over this stuff. I don't want to be in this position, okay? Because I liked way more than I didn't like, but the bad stuff was just bad. Yeah, like, have I ever... I don't think I've ever really been in this position with a TV season before, where it's got way more good than the bad, and the bad stuff doesn't actually get rid of all the good stuff. It does get rid of a chunk, but no, the good stuff overpowers the bad stuff. But it's just like, did you guys forget your own writing? Huh? Like Robert Senior, like you've been involved with the show basically from the get-go, because I actually went back to the credits for prior seasons. He's been credited as executive producer basically since the start of this, and Sarah was also thrown in there for quite a lot of that. Okay, so it's just like, how did he forget this stuff? And how on earth did the character of the actor who played Death, how on earth did he agree to go along with this? Plus, you notice how there aren't any commentary tracks for those last couple of episodes? Not every season has them, okay? Alright? Not every season has them, but I kind of feel like this one should have had one, and yet it didn't. Plus, you notice how in most of the commentary tracks this time you don't have the showrunners participate in them at all. Yeah, that to me seems a bit telling. How I think that means that they kind of realize they dropped the ball in a few important areas with this one. So, here's to hoping next season continues this positive, likability, and then you just don't drop the ball in any major areas next season, okay? Because I want to see what's going on with this. I'm really curious to see what that darkness is, and now that Charlie's gone, I really wonder who the next, supporting character for these people are going to be, because now that it's firmly established that Kaz is a good guy, thank you. I was really getting tired of him going back and forth, wondering how good of a character he was. Oh, yeah. And his interactions with, is it Jeremy or Jimmy's daughter? Those episodes, that was great, too. I love that. So maybe they could bring her there, though. I don't really think that that's going to work so well, because then you're just going to have her behave in many ways like Charlie, except clearly Kimmy there is straight. So, yeah, that probably won't work. But, like, you gotta have somebody else in there to bring back that is on that level, you know? Because you had Bobby at the beginning of the show, then you had Kaz sort of jump into that role. You kind of had Bella do that in season 3. You tried to have Garth do that in like season 7 and 8, even though I am glad that you got rid of him, at least seemingly. Kevin on and off, yeah, so they're probably going to bring somebody into that bit, but I don't know what. Alright, so I'm sorry that I focused a lot more on the negatives, especially since I'm actually admitting that I am letting them get the better of me, but I just have a tough time letting go of these ones, okay? Trust me, this is not like season 35 of Survivor Triple H, in case you want to know the real name of it. That was awful. This is just bad writing moments in a very long, grand storyline that still has a lot more to be told. There's going to be times where writers drop the ball. Like, you seriously don't think that, I haven't experienced this before? Shameless did this a bunch of times. I'm sure I'm gonna note a heck of a lot of these when I watch Glee. A lot of people argue that Game of Thrones did this towards the end, and I'm sure Walking Dead does it. I'm sure. Alright. So, I'm sorry that this review didn't turn out the way any of you or even me expected it, but sometimes it just happens, you know. Like, I don't try to sugarcoat things. If something's bad, I do my best to point it out. See ya.